Welcome to Decode Your Burnout, the podcast where we crack the code on burnout based on three primary factors: your programming, environment, and personality. We also feature experts who debunk the myths about what it takes to be successful in their industry and spin those tips to fit the workplace so you can optimize the way you work. I'm your host, Dr. Sharon Grossman, a psychologist turned coach, author, and burnout expert. If you're burned out and want to go from exhausted to extraordinary, book a free breakthrough session with me by going to bookachatwithsharon.com. And if you want to see how you're doing and what to focus on next, download the Burnout Checklist. You'll find the link in the show notes or go to bit.ly/checkyourburnout. Now let's get started. Now, as you were sharing your story about your own burnout, clearly you are somebody who's a doer. From a very young age, you like to have your hands in everything. You're very passionate about a lot of things. And you mentioned that everything that you were doing, you were actually really happy about. You enjoy doing it. But you also talked about how when you were late to that choir appointment or got to the wrong place and you missed that whole session, you felt really disappointed in yourself. You felt like you let people down. And that led you to start thinking about your relationship with time. I'm curious, was that something that the whole disappointment in yourself and the worry about what other people were thinking about you, was that something that you think contributed to your burnout initially? And if so, in other words, was that a pattern for you? And if so, where did that come from?
Essentially, it gets what I think about when you ask that question, what it gets me to, and actually connecting it to also what I said just prior a few minutes ago. But it's the first thing I always tell people: you need to be selfish. The key takeaway here is you need to be selfish, right? And so for me, back when I was younger, it was like, I remember there were, since I was in elementary, a young single digit age. I remember the first time someone told me this, they were like, "Vanessa, you're so selfish." And then I would start to feel bad about that. And then, it just kept on coming up. But like in my mind, I was like, well, I wasn't selfish. I thought about what they were going to think. I just said a decision that wasn't what they were thinking. Like, I don't get it. And it just kept on happening, like in my, from age 5 to like 18, where I was getting people saying, "Oh, you're so selfish." Right. They will say it with like all this disgust, like, "Oh, selfish." Right. And so then ultimately what was happening was within me, I was like, man, I shouldn't be selfish. I need to ensure that I'm like not being selfish. Right. Like, gotta do what people think that you should be doing. Ultimately what that means. When you're not being selfish, it means that you're doing what other people think you should be doing. Right. And what I learned in that walk back to the conversation, what I learned in that moment was that there is a need to be selfish. Right. And more so was the reflection of it. And it wasn't even that in that moment was a relationship with time. It was a moment that happened with the boxes where I felt that weight on my shoulder. And I was like, I need to remove a box. Like someone's not going to like it, but also like, I don't like this feeling. It was just like, I can keep on feeling like there are boxes on my shoulders, or I can perhaps, remove a box that the person may not like it. But ultimately, yes, I need to be selfish, because otherwise it's just not going to be like, I'm just not going to last long. Honestly, it's really what it came down to. And so it was really that moment for me when the whole box moment of like moving the box and like the weight of that box situation was when I realized, okay, I need to be selfish. Right. And it's okay to be selfish.
And I think it's great that you're tying those two things together, the box and the idea of being selfish, because we can get conceptually what it's like to feel overwhelmed and I need to take something off my plate. And that it's a whole other thing to figure out how to do that. And I think when you're talking about the importance of self-care and, pouring into your glass, into your cup, that you also have that mentality that there's nothing wrong with doing that, that it's actually vital to your health. So thank you for sharing that. What are your other 2 tips for us?
Yeah. So 1, you need to be selfish, right? 2, the 3 and 3. So prioritizing all your goals in the 3 months. So in the 3-month time frame, what are the 3 main things that you're working on, right? And the way to think about it is that if you don't do this, what ends up happening is you end up with all this. Like, for example, I was doing a workshop the other week, and someone mentioned, and they gave the example how she is going to start working on organizing the caregiving for her 85-year-old father, right? And so that was something that she was going to work on. I asked her the question, has that been weighing on your mind for a while? A bit. And she said, of course, I was surprised. She said yes, right? And the way I think about it is that for her, once she prioritizes this and she actually gets it done, she organizes the caregiving, maybe she's doing it, maybe she gets her kids involved, whatever it may be. But once she does that, that allows mental freedom for another goal to come in, right? It allows that mental freedom is another weight lifted off, right? It's a sort of and she'll probably feel it too. Yeah, so you need to be selfish, number 1. Number 2, prioritize all your goals to only 3. And then number 3 is sketching out your success schedule. So I call it, in my company, I call it a success schedule. So what a success schedule is, it's a weekly, it sounds so simple, but I mean, my clients love it. I was just doing this actually for myself for the past 15 years. And then I tried out with a client who's very prone to anxiety and stress and all that sort of jazz, just on a regular basis. And so we did this exercise with her in terms of helping her to sketch out her success schedule. And she was just she printed the whole thing out. She put it in her dressing mirror and she's floored. And that was 2 years ago, the first time I did this exercise with someone. And I continue to do it with all my clients and they all love it. But essentially what a success schedule is, it's a weekly document where it's not even a weekly document. It's one document you make at one time, but it maps out your entire week. And it's as simple as, 7 columns for each of the days. And you're taking back, okay, all your non-negotiables. So you're okay, I want to be selfish. I need to pour into my cup. So all the things you're going to do to continue pouring into your cup while you're pouring out. And then at the same time, how are you going to fit in those goals that you want to get done? And where in the week are you going to map out where and how and what time and when you're going to work on each specific goal, so to speak, right? Whether it be the thinking time or the writing time or the doing time, whatever it may be, but you're just mapping it out during the week amidst all the other stuff that maybe you have a physical therapy appointment that can't be moved, or maybe you have you have work 9 to 5 that can't be moved, whatever it may be that can't be moved. But ultimately, it's ensuring that you're making the time and being intentional and strategic about how you're still pouring into your cup and how you're also delineating and focusing and prioritizing your week to still get done all the goals that you want to get done. And you do the schedule once and then you just follow it, right? And things are going to happen though. Things are going to happen. And this is a bonus tip. Bonus tip number 4, continue to have grace with yourself and be flexible. Continue to have grace with yourself and be flexible. No one is perfect. Perfection does not exist. It just doesn't. I wrote this in my book. Perfection does not exist. It's just not a thing. And so ultimately, when it comes down to it, things will happen. You will say, for a business person, I want to get my marketing batched up, all the content done this Saturday, right? And then all of a sudden someone ends up in the hospital. Now you're in the hospital on Saturday, right? And that's just life. Life happens. It's okay. You're not going to be able to batch your content that Saturday. It happens. Keep it simple, keep it moving, right? But now you have an awareness of your success schedule. And you can say, okay, I'm not able to do my marketing this Saturday because this whole hospital thing happened. All right, cool. All right, great. It's another time, you're just thinking about your schedule. You're okay, is there another time during the week that I can make it happen? Maybe I do less of this, more of this, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But it helps you to just better maneuver your time a little bit better in terms of navigating your life. Because the only thing that you can control, really, that's what I always say. This might be, I don't know if there's a question, last question is the final advice. But anyways, I'm just gonna say. So there's always the thing where I always say time management doesn't exist. It just does not exist. And so the only thing you can't, there's no remote control for time. You're not going to pause it. You're not going to rewind it. You're not going to stop, play, fast forward, whatever it may be. The only thing you can control is yourself, right? The only thing you can control is how you're doing, what you're doing, when you're doing it. That's the only thing you can control. You can't control how many hours in a day you do or don't have. You can't control, how fast or how slow it goes. You can only control what you're doing and how you're doing it so that you can get done what you want to get done.
Absolutely. So just to recap, your tips are be selfish, prioritize your 3 goals for 3 months, and sketch your success schedule. Vanessa, tell us where people can find you.
Always on LinkedIn and Facebook. Feel free to reach out. Find my name, Vanessa Zamy. That's Z as in zebra, A animal, M money, Y. You can message me directly there. If you're looking for you want to move forward and talk about how to apply these burnout tips for yourself and your business to ensure that you are efficiently and effectively balancing your hats, but also unsucking your income and be strategic with your business as well too, in a way that balances both your business and your life. And you're welcome to schedule. I offer complimentary underwhelm your overwhelm business sessions, 20 minutes for us to just really understand what's happening with you and get you a clear path and moving forward. So you're welcome to schedule that at power.vzamy.com.
I love it. All right. Well, Vanessa, thanks so much for coming on the show and good luck on your journey.